Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Spartans Nation. How on earth are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday night. If you're watching on YouTube or hey, on Wednesday or later on in the week, whenever you are watching or listening to this here podcast, thank you guys so much. You guys are truly the best, and I cannot thank you enough for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, before we get into the news of the day of Julius Marble heading into the transfer portal, two housekeeping items that we got to take care of. One, hey, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast or subscribe to this here YouTube channel if this is how you're taking this all in. That'd be much appreciated. And also, if you ever want to shout out with any questions, comments, segment ideas, you just want to get something off your chest, you got a really nice tropical cocktail that you want to send my way, as I will be going down to Florida here soon, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the reason why you're probably watching and listening today. Julius Marble, after 3 years at Michigan State and the year before that he was probably most likely going to be the starter for this men's basketball team over in East Lansing, he's out. He is in the transfer portal. We heard a few of these whispers kind of late in the weekend, and especially on Monday. If you were on Twitter or any message boards, or if you just know people that are into that sort of thing, there's kind of a preamble building up, and sure enough, on Tuesday, late in the morning, early afternoon, there it is. Julius Marble, your starting center next year, is in the portal. Now, of course, everyone's got their reactions. I got my reactions. Of course I do. And it is really polar opposite of what I'm seeing online so far, but that's just the beauty of the internet. Like, nothing's ever just down the middle fine. It's always one end, which is like, oh my God, Julius Marble, this guy is like Anthony Davis 2.0 transferring away to, okay, great. We were better off with a sack of potatoes at center anyway. Like, I think there's definitely some middle ground with all this news. And first and foremost, let's talk about why this is probably a bummer for Michigan State. And first and foremost, this isn't even about the kid himself. It's just about the depth that MSU has at that center position. We'll get more into it in the second segment about what do they do at the 5 now. But for now, yeah, that was your starting center. Now he's not here. But again, I don't want to spoil the second segment. We'll get into that. We'll get into, okay, is Mady Sissoko going to go up from 4 minutes per game all the way to 24 minutes per game? Is Jaxon Kohler going to be the truth? We'll touch on that in a little bit. But about the actual player himself in Julius Marble. Look, he was as good of a shooter as maybe you could hope for out of a guy with his build and played his position. For mid-range, he was a tick above 50%. And I personally can't remember a time where I saw him miss that 19-foot jumper that every time he shot it, I would scream out loud, oh my God, no, don't. Twitched right through the hoop. So really solid shooter. Also, that was represented on the free throw stripe as well. 76% shooter from the line. So yeah, you're going to be missing that as well. And this is something that goes off the box score as well. But if you ever did, it was rare if you questioned his intensity, his dog, if you will. If I could be a true Michigan State fan and talk about the dog in someone, he always brought the intensity on the court. And whether that translated to things going well, it was hit and miss for games, of course, because this is one knock that was against Julius Marble in his time here. The defense wasn't always there, right? Sometimes getting lost, sometimes getting pick and rolled to smithereens, but that happens with bigs in college hoops sometimes. I mean, and that was just one weakness that Julius Marble had. So that's where the good riddance camp it might be coming from, is that he was never this defensive grinder, I guess, so to speak. So, but my take on this whole thing is this a net positive or a net neutral or a net negative for Michigan State? And like right now, on April 19th, 2022. Is this good for Michigan State? No. I would say no. Seeing one of your centers leaving, the guy that was probably 99% going to start this upcoming season, take a hike and leave to the transfer portal? No, that's not good. And before also going any further, I wanted to mention this earlier, but from what I know, I haven't talked to a ton of people, but the few that I've talked to, like, it wasn't any bad blood between Julius and the program. Like, listen, he might just want to go back home. And this will be shown if he does go back somewhere down in Texas or close enough to Texas. That'll be closer to his family. But yeah, 3 years away from family is a lot, especially considering we're coming up on 2 years since his father's passing. So listen, maybe it's just time to go home for him. If I could just speculate a little bit on that, we'll see if that's true here in the next few weeks. But there's that. But no, the reason why I started my take with on April 19th, 2022, like right now, as it stands, as we're recording, as you're probably listening to this, this is not good. Just because from a bodies standpoint, you need bodies here. You need someone to play that position next year. And it was either going to be Marble, which, look, I thought he was a really nice big man to come off the bench. Did I have some pause about how it would go if he was going to play 25 minutes next year? Yeah, like a little bit, but that option was better than probably who's behind him in Mady Sissoko, who's really unproven out there. Or also maybe a true freshman in Jaxon Kohler. Now, this can change. This can change. I could take my hand a little off the panic button for the center position if they do get someone in the transfer portal. Right? That's going to have to be the solution here. Otherwise, you're going into the season with one center, Mady Sissoko, another true freshman that you're going to have to somewhat make a center, and then should Joey Hauser come back, okay, some small ball there, Malik Hall, some small ball at the 5, and that's not going to work against every single team, but yeah. Listen, and my mindset doesn't change for the transfer portal at all right now. I thought the Michigan State needed a center going into this offseason anyway. All that this does is just ramp up the urgency to get someone out of that portal. Ideally, it was always ideally someone that's strong defensively. That was first and foremost. Defensively, a good rebounder, yada, yada, yada. Now you need someone that could do that for 20 to 25 minutes a night. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit because, yeah, it's now we're going to have the now what discussion here. But first, just have to talk to you fine folks about Built Bar. That's right, Built Bar, guys. We have been talking your off about Built Bar for quite some time, and for a great reason, too. Actually, 3 great reasons. Let's go through all of them right now. Number 1, just sensational on the taste buds. Every time you bite into a Built Bar, you're getting something that's wrapped in 100% real chocolate. Soft. It's chewy. It tastes like what's on the wrapper, unlike all those other whack protein bars. Number 2, it is so good on the body. They are mostly loaded with 170 calories, somewhere around there. 130 to 170 is what they shoot for. Just 4 grams of net carbs, just 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. Whew. And also, they want to put money back in your wallet. When you go to Built.com, smash in promo code LOCKED15. That's going to get you 15% off your order. That's right, gang. Built.com, promo code LOCKED15 for 15 Built bars. And before getting deeper into the Julius Marble talk, and we'll asking ourselves, well, now what happens? I just want to thank you for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Now what? Now where do we go from here? Okay, like we just ended last segment. Yeah, MSU needs a center in the transfer portal. And okay, this is going to be a big fire lit under the staff to go get a center from the portal. That's awesome. Now instead of a want, it is now a need. All right, great. Oh, okay. So it's all solved now. Okay, cool. All right. I'll take off my Chicken Little panicking hat right now. Yes, Michigan State and their staff probably knows that they need a center out of the portal. And will they get someone out of the portal? Okay, like most likely, yes, is my guess. However, there is no law in the NCAA book of rules, a book of guidelines, bylaws that state that when a center leaves a program, they automatically get handed another one. So far this transfer portal season, has the staff reached out to a few guys? Yeah, a few, like Jalen Bridges. I think they threw out a phone call to Terrence Shannon Jr., maybe a few other guys that we don't know, but for the most part, not all too aggressive. And now they're going to have to be. And if they're not, or if there's not enough centers to fill this position, like, listen, what I'm trying to say here is that it is not a guarantee that they get a center. Like, you're not going to have a kid going in the portal and being like, oh, you know what? I have a really good relationship with this coach at this program. They need a center, but I just unfortunately heard that Michigan State actually has a center and the NCAA is making me go. They're like, no, you need to hope for a few things. First, you need to hope for a starting caliber center to hit the portal, or that's already in the portal that hasn't been inundated with dozens upon dozens of coaches calling them. Okay, number two, you need MSU to put in the work and actually reach out to this kid. Number three, you need this kid to have interest in you, maybe visit your campus. And then number four, you need the kid to commit to your program amongst the dozens that will be calling him. So, yeah, listen, most likely will he get someone? Sure, but like, you need that 4-event parlay to hit here. And that's what has me worried. The off chance that what if this doesn't ever come to fruition? What if they don't get a center from the portal? And let's just get even crazier right now. Let's say Max Christie doesn't come back either. Let's say he doesn't come back. That's 9 scholarship players that you're going into the season with next year. Okay? Let's say Joey Hauser decides not to come back either. You're going into the next season with 8 scholarship players. There's being stubborn with your roster construction. Like, there's, being set in your ways, maybe not attacking the portal as hard as a lot of people want you to. And then there's just being negligent. And to go into a season with just 9 or 8, oh my God, scholarship players would be insane. Again, that's the doomsday scenario. That's probably not all too likely, but now it's on the table. Now it's on the table. And oh my goodness gracious. So let's say that they don't get a center. Now what? Okay. Yeah, Mady Sissoko, who averaged 4.4 minutes per game last year. And listen, hey, the second half that he had against Michigan when our Spartans were getting lambasted by 40 points in the entire second half, that went great. That was awesome. But there were a lot of times, too, where it maybe wasn't great. And I think it's no secret that maybe the progression of his career isn't going as quick as many thought as a former top 40 recruit. That was considered raw when he came in here. But wow, that's asking for a giant leap from 4.4 minutes in year 2 to, hey, you're going to get damn near starters minutes here in year 3. Good luck. Go get him, because it's small sample size, but there's a reason it is a small sample size, because there's a lot of polishing that has to be done there. And speaking of polishing, you really hope that Jaxon Kohler, as a true freshman, can come in here and contribute. Now, this is a question that we got a week or two ago when I threw out one of my, baits for mailbag questions, as I do. Someone asked, what can we expect Jaxon Kohler's production to be next year? Yeah, this is a way different question now than it was a week or two ago. So let's get into it. Please, let's talk about it. Jaxon Kohler, for those that aren't up to speed on him, top 60 recruit in the country per the 24/7 Sports Composite. Out of the great sober state of, listen, he is a dynamite offensive player. If you follow my buddy DK on Twitter, of course, he's the guy that heads up SpartanHoops.com. He's been on the show many a times. He said it best today via a tweet that his offensive skill set is probably better than 95% of incoming freshmen. Now, with that said, there's a reason that he's top 60 and not top 6, if he's so good. The defensive side of the ball is an issue. So, but again, that's to be expected amongst freshman big men. You can't just be absolutely perfect in every facet of the game, especially physically when it comes to defense. But listen, the kid is smart, cerebral, gym rat, yada, yada, any cliche you want to use. But the offensive side of the game is what should have us excited. And with the departure of Marble, and let's say they don't get a center, or a center that maybe isn't as offensively inclined as you want him to be, this does give Jaxon Kohler the chance to really up his usage and production right off the bat. Listen, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to whisper this part because this is like illegal when it comes to sports talk, but I'm going to do a cross-racial comparison of player right now. His post game reminds me a lot of Derek Nix. That's right. I said it. I went there. Now, I want to throw the biggest asterisk on top of this. Listen to me closely. Jaxon Kohler's post game is exactly reminiscent of Derek Nix. Anything outside of 6 or 7 feet from the hoop, okay, then all bets are off because listen, Jaxon Kohler, better outside shooter than Derek Nix. Okay, no offense to Derek Nix and his point guard abilities, but Jaxon Kohler actually looks a little comfortable dribbling the ball up a court. Is he a point forward? No, but it's not like full-blown, carnival music when he's putting the ball on the hardwood. What I mean by that is that Jaxon Kohler's footwork is just impeccable in the post and within 6 feet, just kind of like Derek Nix. They both play a little bit below the rim like each other. Jaxon Kohler, great shot fake, especially for his age. His drop steps are great. His spin moves are great. He's got this awesome little baby, 5 foot, 6 foot fadeaway that he goes to a lot. It's a player that we should be excited to see more of, and it's not the end of the world that this kid is going to get more run. Now, will there be games that he scores 14 or 16 points, but also gives up 16 on the other end? Yeah, maybe. But listen, this is just what we have now, and it's not the best situation, but it's also it could be a lot worse as far as incoming freshmen that we have to rely on go, right? That's, I guess, the crux of all this is that, we got 2 centers or 1.5 centers. Jaxon, you're going to have to be a center here. But yeah, this is just is what it is. Stay tuned. I would love to have a show next week or in 2 weeks that we're talking about MSU's newest center transfer. But until then, here we are just playing the waiting game, baby. And speaking of playing games, we got some game coming up for you next segment. That is right. We are bringing back a classic to end this show. But first, I just got to talk to you fine folks about RockAuto. Woo! Gang, this episode is brought to you by RockAuto. And with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning like, does your Honda Civic need a skibble bleeber? I don't know. That could be a car part for all I care. All I know is my car is blue and it has a steering wheel and it runs on gasoline. That's all I got. I'm not a car person, but luckily the family folks at RockAuto.com, they're just the car people that you need. And they'll save you time and money when using RockAuto. Why would you spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? You would only do it if you were a giant circus clown. Here, RockAuto, they know that you're not a circus clown. They know that you like to treat your car well and treat your wallet well. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck and write Locked On in their Hey, how'd you hear about us box so they know that we sent you. It's amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That's rockauto.com. Ladies, gentlemen, we're back playing the game. We've played this a handful of times over the last year or two, especially during COVID when there was nothing to talk about. This is the game. If you are new to this program, let's break it down for you. Got 15 clues. I got 15 clues for you describing a game from the last decade-ish for Michigan State football or basketball. They start with super vague clues, and then they get a little more specific as the game goes on. Now, if you've listened to this a few times, see if you could beat your record. I've had people say I got it in 3 guesses. First of all, very impressive. Second of all, okay, that means I got to step my game up because I think these are hard clues, but apparently my definition of hard is a little different than some of yours out there. Also, I think it's our first time we're doing this on YouTube, so comment below what clue you got it on. And yeah, let's see who could be just the best person out there. Let's just get into it. So, again, football or basketball from the last decade-ish. I'm not going back to a swimming meet from 1971 here because that would be ridiculous. Okay, clue number 1. The day prior to this game, Raheem Sterling scored to give Manchester City a 1-0 win over Newcastle United at St. James Park. That is an English Premier League record 18th consecutive win. See, I told you it was really vague. You got to know when the EPL schedule is. You got to know when on earth they did that for Manchester City. Okay, clue number 2. The first person who scored in this game has 10 siblings. The first person who scored in this game has 10 siblings. Clue number 3. The venue where this game was played also hosted a U2 and Coldplay concert in the same calendar year. Clue number 3. The venue where this game was played also hosted a U2 and Coldplay concert in the same calendar year. That might start to give a little bit of what sport we're talking about away. How big does a venue have to be to hold those two bands? I'll figure it out. You guys are the contestants here. Number 4. Clue number 4. This MSU team only lost against teams that finished ranked in the AP Top 20, but also beat 2 teams that were in the top 10 that season. This MSU team only lost against teams that finished the season ranked in the AP Top 20, but also beat 2 top 10 teams that season. Number 5. Gentleman by the name of Desmond Patman was the last player to touch the ball this game. Clue number 5. Desmond Patman was the last player to touch the ball in this game. Clue number 6. The establishment where this game was played, it does not exist anymore. Clue number 6. The establishment where this game was played does not exist anymore. Clue number 7. The same person who did play-by-play for last year's Michigan game on TV was also the play-by-play man for this game as well. Clue number 7. The same person who did play-by-play for last year's Michigan football game on TV was the play-by-play man for this game as well. Of course, I'm talking about the MSU Michigan game, 37-33, never forget. Clue number 8. 4 days after this game, Georgia and Oklahoma played in their double overtime thriller in the Rose Bowl in the semifinal that preluded Georgia's overtime heartbreaker to Alabama in the national title game. So 4 days after this game is when Georgia and Oklahoma played their double overtime thriller in the Rose Bowl in the semifinal that preluded Georgia's overtime heartbreaker to Alabama in the national title game. If you remember what years those happened, this might help you a little bit. Number 9, the highest rated quarterback commit of the Mark D'Antonio era scored his second and final rushing touchdown in this game. Clue number 9, the highest rated quarterback commit of the Mark D'Antonio era scored his second and final rushing touchdown in this game. Clue number 10, in 18 minutes of game time, MSU scored touchdowns on 5 straight possessions. In 18 minutes of game time, MSU scored touchdowns on 5 straight possessions. Clue number 11. This game was sponsored by a credit union that serves the 8th most populated U.S. city. Clue number 11. This game was sponsored by a credit union that serves the 8th most populated U.S. city. Clue number 12. The guy who scored the game-winning touchdown in the 2015 Big Ten Championship game was this game's leading rusher. The guy who scored the game-winning touchdown in the 2015 Big Ten Championship game was this game's leading rusher. Okay, 3 clues to go. I'm sure that maybe you've got it by now. If not, clarity to you. Clue number 13. The year after this game happened, MSU lost to a team from the same conference as its opponent in the Red Box Bowl. That's right, I'm bringing up the good memories here. The year after this game happened, MSU lost to a team from the same conference as its opponent in the Red Box Bowl. Sorry, I can't read my own typed out words here. Clue number 14. This game cemented Mark D'Antonio's 6th and final season with double-digit victories. Clue number 14. This game cemented Mark D'Antonio's 6th and final season with double-digit victories. And clue number 15, Brian Lewerke and Chris Fry were your MVPs for this game. Of course, we are talking about the 2017 San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Yeah, MSU completely worked the Washington Cougars. And let's just go through some of these clues here. This blew my mind. The first person to score in this game was Washington State's kicker. His name's Eric Powell. I went on his bio, and he has 10 siblings. That is outrageous. Someone get that family a TLC show. That's right. In the months leading up to this game, U2 and Coldplay visited this stadium, which does not exist anymore. They tore it down. In 2021, they are going to rebuild a smaller venue, like a 35,000 seat venue. If you ever want to go out there and catch I don't know who's going to play out there, probably San Diego State football game. Desmond Patman, he was a wide receiver for Washington State. He caught the last ball of the game, then clock ran out. Gus Johnson had one of his weirdest nights this night. He was so monotone, and it's almost like he chugged 2 bottles of NyQuil before this game, very muted during the entire game. And I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth after this one, if I could just go off on a rambly rant right now. But he brought the heat. He brought the heat in last year's Michigan State game. Amazing calls. He won me over with that game. Does MSU winning that historic game probably help how I view him now? Yeah, of course. But hey, Gus Johnson back in good graces with me. And then, I couldn't leave this out. One of the best college football games of all time. That double overtime game in Pasadena between Georgia and Oklahoma. Yeah, that was just 4 days after this game right here. And one more. The highest rated quarterback commit of the Mark D'Antonio era was Damian Terry. He scored a rushing touchdown this game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in his career. So there you have it. Thanks a lot for playing, guys. And thank you for listening to Locked On Spartans and making us your first listen every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We got Colton Pouncey of The Athletic in tomorrow. We're going to talk about it all with him, whether it be football. We're going to get some basketball into the mix now, get his thoughts on the whole Julius Marble and MSU roster situation. It'll be a great show. It's been a hot minute since he's joined the show, so super pumped to have him. Again, one of the best minds, one of the best beat writers out there for Michigan State. So stoked for that one. Keep it tuned. Until then, hey, go make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft, because I promise you this NFL Draft is going to happen eventually, I'm sure. I have no reason to believe that it won't. And make sure you're prepared. Ryan Tracy and NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day for you guys with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you find folks get your podcast. Love every single one of you. Have yourself a beautiful, beautiful rest of your Tuesday or Wednesday. Go green.